first started to flame, I grew up having nothing. Bread, milk, and sugar was our breakfast because my mom was a single mom with my grandmother raising me. And I was one of those unwanted pregnancies, and it was just, we grew up with nothing. And my mother used to always tell me that no matter what little you have, you always give back to someone worse off than you. So fast forward that to, I got married, then I found myself divorced, I found myself at one point losing a job, and I was that single mom who had made the 6 figures, and all of a sudden I had nothing, and my husband had taken everything. And I came home one day, and my lights were off, nothing in my refrigerator. And I told God if I ever overcame that I would spend my life helping other women.
You know, I'd been in and out of treatment centers, I'd been in and out of jail. I was essentially just institutionalized. I hadn't worked in years. I was completely broken. I was absolutely sick of myself, and I didn't even know where to start. And the hardest part was asking for help and getting that help. And that's a huge challenge for me today, is to identify what I need and verbalize that. I still struggle with taking criticism. I still, criticize. Yeah, I'm my biggest critic, still to this day. But I'm definitely not where I used to be. I'm a lot more independent. I live on my own. I have custody of my son. I was completely alone, and I had dug myself into a hole I didn't think I could get out of. Mm-hmm. And my life is actually better than I could have ever imagined it being. And it's just with the help and grace and patience of others and their willingness to help me in my process.
I had 4 people walk in my office in 2019 after Labor Day, and they came to me on a Thursday, and they said, they were brought to me, they came from a halfway house, they were brought to me, they said, Miss Robin, we were told to come see you as a last resort. We've been to all their job fairs, no one can help us. It's okay, ladies, well, let's talk. So I was able to talk to one of them, and they had a DUI, and I was able to put her to work. That wasn't a problem. The other 2 ladies, I remember Keisha and Rachel. Miss Robin, you can't help us. I just came out of jail 2 felony thefts. I came out of jail several months ago with an aggravated robbery and burglary.
I came to the sweet addiction shortly after I had admitted myself into a drug abuse program. And Robin was looking for help for seamstress work, and we were sewing masks. I continued to work for Robin, doing baking and sewing.
I never had a dream.
They sat down across my desk, and I said, girls, tell me a story. They told me the story. And I had the conversation with God. I told everybody I did. Here I'm going this way, talking this way, while I'm talking to them, horizontally. And I said, God, what am I supposed to do with these ladies? He said, I want you to hire them and bring them in on Tuesday after the holiday. And I said, I'm having this argument with God. Have you ever done that? And people are talking in front of you. I said, okay, Lord, I'm a pretty young company. I don't have a lot of money. He said, just do what I told you. So I told the girls, I said, Keisha, Rachel, come in on Tuesday, then I'll pay you X amount of money. And they, of course, were very touched and said, Miss Robin, what are we going to do? And I said, I don't have a clue. I said, but I'll tell you after I pray over the weekend. And they came in on Tuesday, and you fast forward about 6 months later, we got a 501c3. That was a month before the pandemic hit. You can't sell cupcakes and cheesecakes in a pandemic. So we swapped everything for sewing machines, and I brought the girls in to sew, and we did many things, giving back to the community. And then here we are in 23, actually 22, we decided, you know what, the pandemic's slowing down, we can now open up as a bakery, and that's where we're at right now.
I pretty much raised myself from the age of 12. My mom was always working, she was never really home. My father wasn't in the picture, and I was an only child. So I quickly found the streets, and that was where I fit in the most with all the other black sheep. But there's a connection with Miss Robin in this program, and she's teaching me how to cook. And I've never been taught things like that. So it just shows me like it's never too late to like make the right decision, and it's never too late for someone to come into your life and change you.
I was molested by the man that raised me when I was around 12 or 13 because I watched physical abuse between him and my mother. I was terrified to tell the truth, and then I hid it for a very long time because I thought if my mother did know, she would probably kill him, and then I would lose both parents. So I was literally sat between the woman who I loved, who I was trying to protect, and the man who had hurt me and her, with 2 officers in front of me questioning me. I hid it for about 20 years. And it wasn't until one day it just hit me that it needed to come out. I was in my 30s and finally told my mother and my sister. I had hid it for so long, I had thought I had healed from it. And I realized I hadn't. It wasn't until I was incarcerated and I sat down and used every minute to the best I could for the most part. I read my Bible. I dug really, really deep to realize, obviously it wasn't me. No matter what the circumstances was, it wasn't me. And the best way to heal was to be the best version of myself I could ever be. I stopped allowing people to dictate what they do to me and how they make me feel. I think when we keep it inside, I've been taught, and I've kind of learned this too as well, when you keep it buried, it's like the devil's way of keeping you in that shame state. And once you learn to talk about it and speak freely about it, because first and foremost, you should never be embarrassed because you didn't do it. It's something that was done to you, and there's so many people that it was done to that you should never feel embarrassed because you're not alone. Once you can speak about it freely, that healing begins.
It's one of the things that I was given as a responsibility with Robin was doing time studies when I was sewing different projects, how long it would take me, and time myself. That particular skill that I was able to learn, and independently working, I used when working for a factory when I was in the quality department doing rework, and so it was something that I was able to carry over into other job opportunities.
I hold my head up. I don't look at the ground when I walk anymore. And that is one thing that has taken me almost 40 years. To not drop my head when I walk. And to know that when I'm faced with a task, I might not be able to do it the right way the first time, but with encouragement, positive words, and the right group of women or people behind you, you pretty much move mountains.
What about now?
I have lots of dreams. I feel like I can be a professional. I feel like I can make it in the professional world. I can make something of myself, and I have enough time left to do so. That my potential is, there's no cap to my potential as long as I keep going and don't pick up and stay in the process of recovery.
You make me cry. I don't look at it as I've affected them. God's allowed me to be an instrument. They're becoming the best they can be. It's just rewarding to see them believing in themselves. That's what it feels like. It feels good to know that they are finally believing in their potential.
Kind of like hindsight's 2020. So looking back, I have a lot more gratitude for the opportunity that I was given in the first year of recovery to work for Robin, because she gave me a lot of space, a lot of patience, because man, I did not work well with others, and so she gave me the time that I needed to really kind of hone my skills and to settle into myself. And when it was time for the little birdie to fly and leave the nest, I did.
I'm starting to get a lot of things back. I did lose my children in April of 2020. I have since then gained them back. But a lot of the things that I've gained mostly are internal. Confidence, self-worth, self-love, things that nobody can take away from me.
I've seen a lot of women that were facing obstacles, and just reaching across the desk and letting them know you're not alone. And I've told so many people, you walked through the right door today, and that's because we will be by your side. We will pray with you, we will cry with you, we will laugh with you, and we'll fight for you. So it's one of those things that all my experience kind of really goes towards that, and watching these women just bloom is something that I honestly see why Miss Robin is addicted to that feeling.
We need funding to bring more girls on board. My company, A&H, has been funding it for 2.5 years. We need funding, scholarships for the girls to be paid and to learn. Wow. And people to hire us for catering or just special events, because that allows the girls to put things into practice. They not only learn to bake and create, but they get to learn to interact with people who have made it in the business world. And that gives them hope that, hey, if that person can make it, I can. So it gives them that camaraderie among themselves, and also that belief in, hey, and it really does sound good when they hear some of the stories of these other women who are professional. I met one the other day, and she gave her story, and they're like, wow, I never thought that of her. And then they realize, she's no different than I am.